all of this and having an iPad to text friends, but not a phone. Tell us about that.
So around half of the people in my grade have phones. My friends and me don't have phones, but
I'm sorry, could she use a mic or something?
Yeah. She actually told me she does a lot of public speaking. She did 4 presentations last week, so I'm not worried about that. You can stand.
So I have an iPad, so I can text with my friends and email with them, but I don't go on Instagram or Snapchat. I also have a Google Drive, which I can text with them on the Google Drive through the email. We work on projects a lot on that, so it's still using technology, but not in a bad way. It's not. There's a lot of drama with people that have phones migrate, a lot more than people that don't, getting left out because they weren't on a certain app at a time than other people, so they don't get to sit at a certain table at lunch. And not getting to hang out with certain people because they weren't in that group chat. Some people also feel left out if they don't get a certain app because they can't communicate with other people better than other people can and do the same things that other people and talk with them about the same things or get to know what other people are doing, and they feel left out because of that. I, as I've said, don't have a phone, but I can still communicate with my friends through my iPad and play games. A couple of my friends do have phones, but they don't they usually text or play games and call their family or something like that. A lot of people in fourth graders and fifth graders in my school mostly have phones. Not a couple of third graders have phones, but not too many. A lot of the people that don't have phones get along just fine with everyone that does have phones. Not really different. And some of my friends that do have phones don't some people that have phones feel that they're they get mad if they don't get to use it as much as other people, so they are upset that they don't get to use more technology when they're already using it an hour a day or something. Yeah.
So I think it. I'll leave it here, please. So I think it's. I think that most. I'm sure there's people in the room who are sort of wondering what they say, and all of you sort of seem to have a real grasp on children, and raise your hand if you have an elementary school age child. Okay, so I think that's sort of our group. So Maria, I'd love to start with you. We talked a little bit before, if you're I think there's probably 2 main issues, right? How much screen time, right? You have this really beautiful dialogue with your daughter about productivity. But let's say there's iPad use or iTouch use or you can have your phone use. What are some practical things that parents can say to their younger child, I mean, there's a whole host of things that come along with tweens and older kids, but we could focus a moment on like, what can you say? Like, if screen time has gotten out of control, let's say, how does a parent start scaling it back? What do they say?
So I think it first starts with having a conversation with your partner, whoever you're co-parenting, whoever else you're raising your child with on what do we want this screen time to look like for our child. And for my husband and I, it was like, how do we want them using technology? Like, what is the purpose of us when we decide to give them technology? Is it when we're going on a long car trip and we actually we want to have a conversation and not hear every 5 minutes, are we there yet? That might be one time that we're going to have technology. Do we want them to use technology because they want to learn about something and they want to go on the website and to find out about animals or research or something for school? Yep, I think that's a way that we want to use technology. Are we going to use technology in a restaurant when we're going out to dinner? And we decided no, because during that time we're teaching social skills. We're teaching how to have conversation, that's family time, meal time in our home is technology free. I run 2 major online businesses. My husband works in technical software sales, so if he's actually home, because he's usually traveling, I mean, we're both slaves to our phone a lot of times, but in our home, the phone is not at mealtime. So I think it's first deciding when you want to give your child technology, have a purpose behind it, and then decide how you're going to set up boundaries in your home. So then we had a conversation with our girls. This is when we're going to use technology, and this is when we're not going to use technology. So in our home, unless you have homework on technology, which is only my 10-year-old, there is no screen time Monday through Thursday, unless mom and dad both have night meetings, and that's when we get technology. So for the most part, there's no technology usage in my home. And by technology usage, I mean there is no television, there is no iPad, there is no phone time. If they're bored, they're bored. And that was hard for me because I'm so busy and I'm usually the hands-on parent. So for me, and I've always found that this is a lot of the work on the parent, is offering the opportunity for my child to be bored and learning how to have conversations with them to redirect them to do something else. Because what they're automatically going to go for is they're going to ask for the screen time. And my 4.5-year-old is relentless, and she will still ask. I mean, these are the boundaries how she, was raised, and she will still ask, can I have the iPad? No, Aria, your choices are X, Y, and Z.
So after establishing the sort of family norm, which I think is such an important, almost first step, right?
Yeah.
What do we?
Then we go through the rules with the girls.
Yeah.
I like to take a proactive approach to parenting, saying these are how we're going to do things in our home to set the expectation. Because my girls like to be in control, and I like to give them the opportunity to be independent and leaders. So they know that these are the rules in our home, this is how we utilize that. And then from there, if they start pushing on a boundary, which is normal, children have to push on boundaries, it's a very important part of how they learn, then I give the options back. And I'll start with, the 4-year-old, I'll give her 3 choices. And if she says she doesn't like that, then I'll say to her, well, then I'll pick something for you to do.
So that's a really good tool, I think, for parents of young children, right? Your preschool teachers all do it. You can't do that, but
give her choices that she can do. And if your child has been on screen times a lot, and last summer I fell into that rut where my husband was gone for 6 weeks and I was exhausted and working, and I fell into a horrible rut of them being on the iPad every day, I saw it right away. The behavior started escalating. She started getting more whining. She was challenging me when I said no. It was ultimate meltdowns. And I realized, I knew what it was. And I had to take a couple of deep breaths and decide, okay, Friday we start with intervention. And that was really for me, and that was taking her off of technology completely to allow her system to recalibrate. And there's literally biology behind that, and dopamine and all of that had to come back to normal, and teaching her again to be able to play and to find other things to do. And she pushed a lot on me, but she did go through that period of time and figured things out, and we're recalibrated again. And there's going to be times where you're going to go up and down, and so there's times when I slip, and we have to go back through that process, and just understanding that they can come off of it. It may stink for a few days or a week, and they're going to fight you on it, and they're going to be upset about it, but they will normalize for the most part. And if they don't, then that's when you can go and seek outside help from these great providers here on how to better manage that.
How long is this detox?
It depends on how long they've been on it, and it depends on the child. You know, my 4.5-year-old Aria is really my challenger, and I would say it's 2 weeks of freaking hell. It was hell.
So,
And
you had a question. If you have questions, we're passing them which way?
Yeah, if you have questions and you broke them down, you want to write them down, there's the file cards, just so we can collect them and
Yeah.
maybe streamline them a little bit. No, it's
Right.
totally okay, it's totally
It's
reasonable.
a great segue, because I was supposed to do that, so that's great.
I'll have to collect.
Yeah.
I'll pass them.
So thank you so much. I think, I'm sort of wondering, anyone can sort of jump in. If like a detox is necessary, how would you, and now Jim, maybe you want to like speak to this, how would you sort of, and you definitely touched a bit on it, and anyone can jump in, but I'd love to start with you. Like, how would you like sort of validate or speak to the need for the detox, right? Like if the use has been extreme, and you know, like as you said, like, okay, it's time, you gotta bring this in. Like what's a thing you could say to, let's say, your 4 or 5-year-old if it needs to change, right? Like, or when you mentioned 2 weeks, when like the 2 weeks is happening and there's freak out, what kinds of things can parents say?
I think it's really important to be transparent and to acknowledge your own mistake, perhaps, and say, you know, that I'm the responsible person here for letting the situation get out of control. And I want to let you know that, you know, this was my mistake, my bad, and unfortunately, you're going to have to suffer the pain, but we're going to move through this together. So, you know, you have to decide whether you want to. And again, it depends on the child, depends on what they're using, how long they've been using, age, you know, what you can actually sustain in your family, because if you can't sustain a reduction in use, you know, for a period of time, and you can't be consistent with consequences if somebody decides to use when they shouldn't, then, you know, a full detox is probably not a great idea. Because you do need to be consistent. So you have, you know, you can look at dosing, but beforehand, again, transparent with yourself. What can I actually handle? What am I going to do? What are my consequences going to be? Not assigning consequences to behaviors that are unrelated to the technology use. I don't know if that's really answering
No,
your
that's
question.
perfect. Yeah, can you say, can you explain what like a dosing situation would look like?
Well, I mean, you know, I deal with people sometimes that are using technology for 18+ hours a day. Okay, so, you know, that's, and not, you know, everything is not getting done. Nothing's getting done in your life. So, you know, and then I've got kids that are overusers at 5 hours a day, and at 5 hours they're unhappy and depressed, and, you know, there's teasing out also sort of the, you know, gaming is different from socializing and social media. They really are different animals, and what I was saying earlier, I'm actually treating somebody who's like now addicted to online reading. So what, you know, their real issue is social anxiety. So, you know, dosing for them would be getting them to a relatively reasonable use that does not interfere with other self-care needs, other, you know, human interaction, and so on. And you've got, it's different for everybody. So.
I'm just wondering, has anybody here detoxed? Like a day? 2 weeks? Anybody 2 weeks?
I mean, not personally, but I think that I've had some.
Nobody in here has gone 2 weeks without their phone?
My kids had to give up Xbox for Lent.
Okay. I went 2 weeks, 2 years ago, I went and worked on a farm out west. No phone, no anything. You couldn't even get to like, your cell phone just didn't work. There was no technology, and honestly, I felt great. At the end of 2 weeks, I really did feel good. And I don't know, I think maybe everyone should take a little detox for a minute and just remember what it's like not to have these things. You know, this is a tool. It's not, I don't know. I'm just realizing how addictive these things really are. I mean, this is a serious problem. Like,
Well, because there's the challenge, and as I'm trying to conceptualize this when I think about, smartphone use, is that we've got all these functional uses. So, unless you're gonna go back to a paper calendar and a dictionary and an iPod for your music, you're not willing to carry around all the other things that now this provides as a functional use. You're not leaving it from, like, that's it, it's done. This is our world now. So it's a matter of now deciding functional use, emotional use, educational use. Like, that's how I kind of categorize these things, because I don't feel that it's realistic or sustainable to go to day-to-day life in the Northeast without having technology at your fingertips.
What were those three categories?
Functional, emotional, educational.
So I kind of want to jump back into today. David, I think we're like, we've got so many parents of little ones in here, and so you talked a little bit about it in your intro. But in this like sort of culture, as we're all sort of kind of agreeing, where we use it for so many different things, and it's something that our kids are using it. Like, how it's not like it's important, and I would agree, but how can we sort of reintroduce play into home life when maybe the habits are sort of around, like, everyone can watch a show during like dinner prep, or like if you have your homework done, you do go on Fortnite. And the Fortnite guy, the YouTube guy, I said to my son, like, if I hear that man's voice in my house, like, we're gonna have to just like, we're all gonna throw our stuff in the bag and we're toss it. Because I can hear his voice, like right now, that the voice, right? YouTube guy, it's like teaching kids how to play Fortnite. But for the little ones, like, what are some ways that you can sort of reintroduce play, or sort of wean kids off of something they think is productive play, but maybe isn't? Any ideas about that? Or?
So I think one of the issues is that continuity that was mentioned. There has to be continuity, and what we find, for example, in families of divorce, is one parent will institute this procedure, it's not carried over with the other parent, and most of the reinforcement of this is what we call random ratio reinforcement, and it's the hardest to extinguish. It's the same behavior that you see in a slot machine, right? And so slot machines are addictive because of that. You never know if the next pull is going to get you something. In children, that translates to this concept of fear of missing out from the social aspect of it. And for adults, by the way, it's that fear of missing out. This might be that important email that I missed. No, this might be that important. And it's a very difficult behavior to extinguish. It's to understand that this should be active parenting and not passive parenting. And we find that many parents will just put the, whatever the device is in front of the kids, and it becomes electronic babysitting. And even when you ask, for example, do you know what sites they went to? The vast majority will say one thing when it isn't, about almost 80% of the time. It's not what they thought the child was on, which opens up a whole other can of worms on this. But the most important part of this is this fallacy that somehow there's an evolutional thing that's occurring where kids are just transitioning from friendships face-to-face to friendships, they're just communicating on the phones, right? They're playing Fortnite together, they're doing all this, and that's a substitute for face-to-face contact. It isn't. And all the data shows it isn't. And in fact, the study that I cited where the kids weren't able to identify the situations, facial, emotional, features, they weren't able to identify social situations by video. When they separated randomly, took a group of those kids and stopped all screen time. They got the other group as a norm group, and they, for 2 weeks, they basically, no screen time, they hung out, that's all they did, face-to-face contact, and then they re-administered. They were significantly better at identifying faces, emotions, and other human connections. We're just not seeing that anymore, and unfortunately, we're in an area where we believe play somehow is a frivolous thing, and it isn't. And so we overstructure our kids. It's an issue, because there is no substitute for play except play. Kids learn to play, to become empathic. Human beings, as we know, Homo sapiens sapiens, we've been around, what, 50, 60,000 years now. And this has been our primary way of instilling empathy in other human beings, becoming tribal, becoming families. This isn't happening anymore. And in elementary school, the trajectory is that that basic empathy isn't there by the time they get to middle school. You start to not see it as we used to. How many of you remember malls? Raise your hand. Right? How many of you were mall rats? It's okay, raise your hand. We know who you were. Yeah, I said a bunch of you. See, now we laugh at mall rats, right? But being a mall rat taught you some skills. It taught you skills. It taught you how to flirt. It taught you how to deal with, competition. It taught you a lot of different skills. Where did all those kids go now that malls have closed down? Over 80% are gone. Where did those kids transition to?
Computers.
Who would let their child go to mall anymore?
Right?
I mean, that's it, like,
Could.
who here would let their kid go to Stanford Mall?
But all those without a phone.
Without a phone, even, oh my
You
God.
have to let them know if they have the phone on them, right?
So actually, before, Ann has to go, so I sort of want to ask you, as a fifth grader without a phone, because I think about this a lot. Like, for the first time ever, kids, lots of kids, don't ever have the experience of being unreachable, right? So the socialization has certainly changed. I think a lot about that as a psychotherapist, right? Like, what does it mean for the growing of independence, for mistake making, for like the development of identity if you're always tied to mom or dad? Or if you feel like they can track you, they know where you are, you're always reachable. So I wonder, like, how does it feel for you when you're out and you can't be reached?
Well, it's not like, I feel pretty good about when just talks to me.
Yeah. Can you guys hear her?
No, not in the back.
I feel pretty good without a phone. It's not like I can communicate with other people if I want to, but I don't have to. And
What
like,
about your parents? Like, if you're, let's say you're at, and you were saying you do soccer, you do lacrosse, like, what would happen if whoever was picking you up was like 10 minutes late, and you didn't have something in your bag that would say, like, it's okay, I'm gonna be there in 10 minutes, like, what would you do?
well, I was at a soccer practice one time and my mom
So you're gonna
got
help your mom.
someone else